I'll preface by saying this is not a Met Gala post. Suffice it to say, Anne Hathaway was the best dressed, hands down. The gown and that necklace, fire. Look at that. So beautiful. And then, just real quick, did anybody hear on the live stream with AP News on YouTube when Blake Lively was trying to climb the red carpet and she called those guys over to come help her? One of the photographers was like, is she going to control that too? Like, super snarky about it. So I think like Blake's going to have she's going to have an uphill battle rebuilding that reputation. Anyway, this post is really about Chloe Malle and the future of Vogue and her new job as the head of editorial. Well, not new. She's been at it for like 6 or 7 months now. And this is her Met Gala gown. I liked it. Colleen Allen. I don't like that random bit of fabric at the knee. And I don't like the fit. It didn't fit that great. But a muted orange is one of my favorite colors. So anytime I see someone try to pull off orange on a red carpet, I'm all for it. And I will say, watching people posing on a red carpet is so cringe, especially on the Met Gala carpet the other night. I had secondhand embarrassment for some people. Anyway, this is the reference for her gown. It's called Flaming June. Really lovely. And everybody, please stop ragging on her personal style. This, I think, was an outlier. It really was not her best, and it's pretty unflattering. The skirt is probably better in like a print form. It doesn't look that great here. But this is how she normally, like, look at that, it's beautiful. I have been looking for this dress. It's Altuzarra. I've been looking for this on resale sites forever. If anybody ever finds it, feel free to send it to me. I love it so much. And then I also love the clutch. It's a brand called Olympia, and I'm an avid reader. I'm also a vintage book collector or antique books. So I love her style. She makes these really lovely, here's another one, these really lovely like box clutches, and a lot of the time they'll have like old vintage book covers embroidered. Oh, they're so pretty, and I've been dying for one for years, but it's pretty pricey, in the $2,000 range, and I just haven't pulled the trigger. But please leave her style alone. She's fun. She's usually actually pretty chic. She's more casual than an Anna Wintour. All right. This is what I really wanted to talk about, because I have been kind of iffy on Vogue because it seemed like they weren't doing as great a job. Maybe it's just my opinion at bridging the gap between their print media and their digital formats. And this quote here says, Dior's Jonathan Anderson told Nathan Heller, "How do you find newness within something which is already old?" And the answer, by having it dialogue with what's happening today. Which obviously is pretty much going to be Chloe's job. And her as a millennial or zennial, I actually heard someone even pronounce it as exennial, people who were born in, the late 70s to mid to late 80s, who lived an analog childhood, grew up learning how to type, learning how to use computers, and then now are fully immersed in the digital world. I think Chloe Malle was probably a really great successor to Anna Wintour. She seems to really understand the importance of print media, but also the importance of digital media, and I think kind of how now can't have one without the other. Does that make sense? I've been trying to form this statement in my brain forever, which is kind of why I'm making this video. But this screenshot is from an interview that they did, and the question was, if you had Vogue's budget in the 90s, what would you do? One of her responses was, I would build a whole podcast studio. She would pay people 30% more. She would fully staff their social team. She would staff the app. And Anna's immediate response was to talk about how, yes, the budget is healthy, but how you use it is constantly changing depending on the moment. So that just tells me, and this is something, it wasn't even a question of how are you going to use the budget now. It was if you had the budget of Vogue in the 90s. And I hate to say it, but I think that Anna Wintour as editor probably stayed on longer than she should have, because yes, the budget is so important. You can't do anything without it, right? But also those constant changes that she talks about is the digital world. It's the podcast, it's the socials, it's the app. And if print media wants to stay relevant, there has to be a bridge there. You have to bridge that gap between the two, which I think with Chloe at the helm now is probably more likely to happen. Like, for a while, I don't know why, but the impression that I got when reading Vogue was like exclusivity. You can't sit with us. It was like the Met Gala, right? It's more important who you know. It's more important what you can buy your way into. It's a seat at the table, but a seat that's not available to just anybody. And I was struck watching the red carpet stream on YouTube for the Met Gala, and I'm like, it's like a parody of itself. I loved watching some of the red carpet arrivals, but it was just an exercise in excess. It was watching a billionaire kind of buy his way into another industry where everybody knows how important journalism is. So when a billionaire buys into a media empire, it's like, well, if he's lobbying for something here, is he going to be able to tell Condé Nast or someone at Condé Nast what to print or what not to print? But yeah, watching the Met Gala, it's easy to forget that that's not the whole of the fashion industry. This billion-dollar business is built on, independent retailers, independent designers, independent brands, exploitative labor, chemicals and water usage. And I understand Anna's response, budget is everything. It's always changing. You have to, as the editor, you have to know how to allocate correctly. But paying people 30% more, you might have to cut from one thing or another. But it's really hard to argue that when you watch the Met Gala and the next article out is how they made $42 million this year for the Costume Institute. And the reason that I like Chloe Malle so much after watching a few of her interviews is because she seems to be really astute at multiple generations of people. Like, she understands the boomer generation, right? But she also understands Gen Z, which is probably because of the generation that she grew up in, right? We all know, if you're a millennial, you're helping your boomer parents with all kinds of stuff, especially digitally. But then we're also raising the next generation where we also have to teach them, all of these things. And this industry is changing, but it's not changing fast enough. And I feel like if it wants to stay relevant, not just print media, but the fashion industry as a whole, if it all wants to stay relevant, people have to feel included.